Hey everyone, Connie here, and welcome to my top 20 movie musicals list. So this is a list I kind of decided to do really randomly. I was watching some reactions to some musicals, and I decided, it would be kind of cool to make a video listing my favorites. And so I started making the list, and I realized I can't just cut this down to 10. There are some that would be beyond that I would want to mention. So I decided, top 20. We'll do a top 20 for this, and we'll kind of just see how it goes. And I still had to cut it down in the end. But I think I got a definitive 20 that would be my favorites. Now, what are the rules for this? Well, the movie has to be a movie, obviously. It has to be a full length feature. It can be animated, it can be live action, that does not matter. It has to be a musical, which means that there has to be music throughout the entire film that progresses the story, the character arcs, and or reflect what is happening on screen. Um, and another thing to note is that I am not including Disney movies. And a lot of you might be like really shocked by that. A lot of you might be like disappointed by that. But honestly, that could be its own list, for one. But two, I don't think it's fair. When you think of an animated musical movie, you think of Disney. And if I included Disney movies in this, they would take up the majority of this list alone. Almost none of this list would be non-Disney. Because let's be honest, Disney movies are awesome. Disney movies that are also musicals are awesome. So I just feel like it would be an unfair advantage for most of them to be Disney, when I could just make a separate list sometime in the future for Disney movies that are specifically musicals. So this list will not be including this. This will be specifically non-Disney movie musicals. Although the non-Disney part's not going to be in the title. Though you'll have already seen that. Yeah. But that's really the only rules. Has to be a movie, has to be a musical, nothing Disney. It doesn't matter what time period it's from. It doesn't matter if it's animated or live action. None of that kind of stuff is important. But I will say that this list was very fun to make and research into because it made me remember a lot of things that I didn't even remember. Like I got reminded of All Dogs Go to Heaven, which I'll just say like won't be on the list. And anything I mention right now is not going to be on the list. These are just ones that I was reminded of that didn't make the cut, basically. But I got reminded of All Dogs Go to Heaven. It's like, oh yeah, I forgot that movie existed. I got reminded that there is this Pippi Longstocking movie that was a musical, and I checked it out briefly. I played one of the songs in it, and it's like, oh my god, I remember this song, and it freaked me out a little bit because it's like I have not seen this movie since I was a little kid, like like elementary school. And yet I remember that song pretty notably. And I even got reminded of this movie called The Story of Santa Claus, which was a television animated Santa Claus movie starring Ed Asner, Betty White, and Tim Curry that I would watch all the time growing up. And it's like, and I'm like, oh yeah, that movie was a musical too. And it was really fun. And I have very fond memories of it. And it's just like these movies that I got reminded of. And there's plenty of movies that are on the list that it's like, oh yeah. And every time I kept doing my research, I kept looking things up. It's like, oh yeah, there's that. And there were a couple that were like obvious. There were a couple that were going to be on the list that it's like, oh yeah, of course I got to include this. This is a no-brainer, so on and so forth. But there were some that I honestly just kind of forgot about. So this list was really fun to make. And then When choosing the clips that I was going to use, basically just choosing a song from each musical to highlight. It was fun going back and listening to some of the songs and deciding which ones I wanted to go with. Um, and speaking of, because I chose that kind of thing for the list, obviously, links are in the description below. It is on both BitChutes and Google Photos just to keep safe. I've had enough issues with this channel and with my channels and copyright in the past. Not this channel, because this channel came after the copyright issues. Deleted my entire old account, including every channel attached to it. I will never let that go, just because it was completely bullshit. But yeah, not even risking that shit anymore. So yeah, just to keep safe, as always, link will be in the description below to both BitChute and Google Photos for the lists. You could check them out there and then come back here to the redirect to give your thoughts down in the comments below. And I would love to hear in the comments below, what are some of your favorite movie musicals? Not including Disney. What movie musicals do you really like? Do you agree with the choices that I put on my list? Or would you switch things around? Would you put some other stuff on there that I didn't put on there? Are there certain ones on my list that you would take out? And keep in mind, obviously, this is only my opinion. It's based on my tastes and everything, and also it is based on what I have seen. So obviously, there might be a musical that isn't on this list, and you're like, oh, where is La La Land, for example? I haven't seen La La Land. I have never seen La La Land, so it's not going to be on my list. Do not expect La La Land. Only movies I have seen can make this list for obvious reason. I have to know the movie. And one last thing to note, I will not be including Hamilton. Because although Hamilton is amazing, I don't really consider it a movie. It's a stage recording. Even though it's on Disney Plus and is kind of marketed as a movie, it's a stage recording. They took a couple different stage performances with the original cast, recorded them, and spliced them together. I don't really consider that a movie adaptation of a musical. It's not like with the upcoming Wicked movie that's going to be coming out. That's going to actually be a movie. That's it's done differently. I don't know how else to describe it. Or I think the Dear Evan Hansen movie does the same thing, where it's like, it's not actually like, it's not a stage recording. It's a movie. They made it as a movie. They had the actors come in. They had sets and everything. You get what I hope you get what I'm trying to say. I cannot word this right to save my life. But yeah, I will say right off the bat, Hamilton is not included simply because of that. Otherwise, I would tell you that Hamilton would be very high up there, top 3 for sure. Not sure exactly which spot I would give it, but top 3 for sure. But either way, like I said, link to the list is in the description below, both on BitChute and Google Photos. So, and tell me in the comments, what do you think? What are your thoughts? What are your lists? All of that jazz. And in the end, I hope you enjoy my list. So thank you so much for tuning in. And for now, I'm Connie, and I'm signing off. See y'all next time.